What's going on, guys? It's your boy Gerard and your girl Gabby. We are back for episode 27 of the Kicks and Shit Show.
Are
Gabby,
you get sick of that yet?
no. We're doing that forever. This is
Forever?
for forever.
I like that we're speaking in two different nuances right now. Like, you got a little Sandlot going on, and I've got a little Outcast. Like, forever, ever?
Say ever. Speaking of, funny that you mentioned Outcast. Actually, I wasn't planning on going here, but first, actually, how are you? What's going on in those streets?
Well, thanks, Gerard. That's so nice of you to ask. You look wonderful today. I just want to say that.
Thank you.
I'm loving this hoodie, even though I'm not allowed to borrow it, but I'm
You
loving
are
it.
you are definitely not allowed to borrow it. Shout out to Jordan Brand.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm feeling it.
Like old McDonald's, I like it.
I'm glad you picked up on that one. No, it's good in these streets. It's been a very busy week. Halloween is upon us. Daylight savings. I'm rocking my Halloween shirt because Festivus for the rest of us. You know what I mean? It's been a week. It's a good week, though.
Let me ask you something. Where do you stand on the daylight savings time thing? Because here's my thing. Like, I get it for the farmers and all that, cool. But yo, we don't need to be turning no clock back so at 4:30 it's pitch black outside. Like, I'm not here for that. Like, just not. I mean,
you know me. Your girl's a night owl. That little bit of daylight in the morning. I don't need. What are we saving it from? What are we saving the daylight from? I think it's trash. We don't need it. I don't need it to be dark at 4:30. I'm still going to be up until basically the sun comes up anyway, especially now with this clock turning back. I'm excited about the extra hour of sleep. I think that, someone might light the black flame candle and the world might combust, Halloween, October 31st.
I mean,
Saturday night, full moon.
All on the heels of a relatively important election happening in a couple days. So
you can't make this stuff up, though. It's like the story that couldn't have written itself any better.
But did.
And we're still here.
For now.
Yes.
No.
That asteroid hits us, but it's another day in the life.
No. It's it's, as you often say, what a time to be alive.
What a time to be alive is right, Gerard. And I must ask, how are you doing in these
Wow, look at that, folks. You see?
Every week it's a surprise, everyone. I just want you to know that I ask him every week how he's doing, and every week it's a surprise. I don't really know why.
Good. The Ringer, you mentioned Outkast. The Ringer did a recent survey about like the most ranking Outkast like best songs, and those lists always are things that get people talking and people fired up, right? And I was having an interesting chat conversation with some friends of mine, and I want to know your thoughts on this. Music is a thing like where I feel like it allows us, and when I say us, I mean everyone. It allows us to like act a certain type of way and like feel like high and mighty, like particularly if it is an artist that we were down with before everybody else was, right? And we all have that artist, right? Everyone has that person or that group that they were on from day one, and
before they blew up.
And then all of a sudden, like then they got commercial and whatever, and then it turned into a whole thing. And it was really interesting, sort of going back and forth on that, because I wonder, because like Hey Ya was ranked very high, and like day one Outkast fans, as you know, they're not trying to hear that bullshit. They're like, nah. I mean, look, Hey Ya, commercial success, whatever. Like, it comes on in the spot. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna tap my feet, get a little jig going on. But like, it's not, to me, it's not like. But I wonder if you're a day one music fan, do you look at super duper commercial songs like if you're an Outkast fan, like Hey Ya, and because everyone else likes it, you do that whole like, well, I'm not gonna like this, everybody else likes it, and do that whole like, this is why they're better. It's so like derivative of blah blah blah, and you get into all like specifics about why every song on Aquemini is better or whatever or what have you. Which, by the way, that's a true statement. But like I wonder, like, how do you think about that as it relates to like super popular songs when you're like a day one or an OG before they blew up?
I think so. I think people like to hate also on what's popular. I mean, or Nickelback. People also like to hate on Nickelback. But they're popular for a reason. There's a reason that they're on the charts. I mean, Photograph is trash, but we can save the Nickelback chat for the after show. But I'd love to know Like for me, Bombs Over Baghdad, that was a moment. Like that to me is my favorite Outkast song.
It's a jam. It's a
Roses was
banger.
great. It's like the older stuff, you know what I mean? Is always better. Just because you get to see who the artist truly is before they are affected. And it's no fault to anyone. We're all affected once you reach a certain level of audience or notoriety or you I mean, we're products of our environment, right? So, I mean, I was an early adapter to Maroon 5. Listened to them in high school. Most people didn't know that Maroon 5 even existed in high school. And so like
You were
some of
day
those
one.
songs, yeah, I mean I was a little emo too, you know what I mean? I'd go back and forth between Biggie, Maroon 5 and Limp Bizkit, you know, let's keep it real. Um TVT.
Going through Gabby's musical taste as a kid on the streets of Martinsville, New Jersey at Pingree School, like Biggie, Maroon 5, and Limp Bizkit. Like you were simultaneously like, right. So you played tennis, and you probably had your Maroon 5 like emo with like whatever was
No
going
band
on.
t-shirts. No band t-shirts or posters. I was also rocking basketball shoes
I know
and
on the tennis
basketball
court. Yeah,
shirts
yeah.
and you know, like dressing like Sporty Spice and Run DMC. Like I had purple satin pants. Don't at me. I was just trying to figure it all out. Like I'm somebody who likes to take it all in and then make my assessments, right? Like I don't like to stay in just one lane because I think that limits your perspective. So don't judge me for my eclectic music taste.
My musical taste is very eclectic.
I would have loved to see your iPod back in the day, Gerard. I bet you
Well,
had some Spice Girls hidden on there, maybe some BSB in sync 98 degrees. I
no,
think there was at
no,
least
and
one.
no,
There was a one Britney Spears song.
and none of those things. And by the way, first of
I'm gonna
all,
call your bluff.
to call it. First of all,
Call it.
iPods didn't exist back then when I was right, so I was not listening to stuff on iPods. No, I would do the old school like, yo, you got to tape a song off the radio on Hot 97 and
Oh, I love
make
taking
your
it
little
off the radio.
make your little cassette tape mix, and you'd always get annoyed when the DJs were talking, or if you had that kind of boombox where you were talking and then your voice is on the thing, and you're like, mother.
Oh, you fancy. I wish I could be like, and next up is only the 2/3 portion of this song that's coming up because they've decided to talk over the entire first quarter. It's bad math. I just
That
went
was
along with it.
that.
But you know what I mean, though? It's like, you're like, damn, I missed the end of the song. It's the best because the DJs keep talking over
Uh,
the end of it, or like, you never know who a song is by because half the time they don't say it.
Remember we had Cypher on. One of my favorite things about Flex is when a hot joint comes on and Flex literally restarts it and drops the bomb like 1,000 times in a row. You're like,
He still does that.
I know.
That's still the move.
You're like, Flex, are we gonna actually hear the song, or are you just gonna bring it back from the beginning and bomb drop into all that? Like it's just
Still.
at different times. See, kids today they don't know about that. That's not.
But he still does that today.
Oh, I know he does. But how many kids listen to the radio nowadays? Like like when we were in like middle school and high school, listen to like the radio.
Well, that's true. I mean, I still listen to it when I'm in my car, but I also have an older car, so I don't have XM
Right.
or any of those. I don't
Right.
have an aux cord. I
Right.
have an actual tape deck in my car still, you
Oh
know?
shit!
I know. I feel like you just got really excited about that.
Well, you got so you got mixtapes in there.
So I have a mixtape that I didn't know it was on it. The tape was a little scrambled, so it only plays a little bit of it, but
I'm gonna
it's a 90s vibe, I'll put it that way.
I'm-
And it's
I'm
a
gonna-
mixture of songs is the name of the tape.
I'm gonna put you on the spot right here. What was the first mixtape you either remember making or receiving?
Oh. And this doesn't count as like me getting a Whoop There It Is single on tape, right?
No.
Okay. That was one of the first tapes I ever got.
like you either curated it yourself and made it for someone, or someone made one for you.
I used to make them all the time for myself. I did the radio, right? Like I would sometimes listen to K Rock at night. I would go back and forth between that and Z100. I never grew up with a TV in my room, and I understand why. So I had the radio, and my parents would always be like, "What is this trash that you're listening to in the morning?" Because for those who remember, Howard Stern used to grace us with the morning show
true.
of 92.3 K
K-Rock,
Rock. So my mom is like, "Who is this delicate little flower of a daughter that we have who is 14, listening to them talk about all the gross, wonderful, magnificent things that Howard Stern used to talk about on regular
God.
schmegular radio."
Oh my God! Look at you. So you probably taped Howard Stern shows with Robin and that
Oh, I
whole
love
crew.
Robin. Oh, legend.
Oh my goodness.
I like
Oh,
You know, like I listen to it all. I think that's how, like I said, that's how you learn and you grow is to experience it all.
You right. You right. Look
True
at
with speakers too. You know, I'm trying to rein it home a little bit.
see. I enjoyed the little trip down memory lane. That was fun for us. A little back in the day. Speaking of footwear, um, New Balance, interestingly enough, was named by Footwear News as Athletic Company of the Year, and I was like, well, wow, look at New Balance, and kudos to them because we talked about this a few episodes back, just about them re-entering the space and really signing some really interesting deals with athletes and entertainers and doing collabs, right, a la what the other bigger brands do. The Kawhi basketball shoes gotten extremely popular and pretty good reviews. The Jaden Smith Vision Racer shoe, which they're in a little bit of trouble over that right now for potential copyright. But I just think what a little come up for New Balance, right? And sort of like trying to establish itself as a different player in the marketplace, right? Because they've always been there with their running shoes and all that, but they've sort of been like, look, we play in this space too, right? In the fashion, the leisure wear, and also in the performance for basketball and stuff.
Right. I mean, we're not just the 574 cores from the days of old that kids at my high school used to rock with their khakis, and I used to run in New Balance shoes. They're great. I love the Kawhis. I think they literally are flames, some of the collection. I think they're really great. It's a good vibe. New Balance is very comfortable. I mean, I would love to know more about those parameters. Is it from a performance standpoint? Or is it from what they're doing? I mean, we had one of our monthly lives this week, and one of the things we were talking about is brands partnering and having spokespeople, but there's still a lack of women spokespeople in that space. I don't know, and I could be mistaken here, but I don't know of any New Balance female spokesperson collab or partnership. I mean, like the Ronnie Feed collection that came out at the beginning of this year was great, and they've done some other collabs and vibes, and I know that New Balance kind of has a moment and a vibe from where it started down in the DMV. Shouts to DC.
Yeah.
But up here, it's a different vibe. And aside from Kawhi, I mean, I know New Balance has made a lot of strides, and shouts to them for everything they're doing. I think any progress is good progress. Their stuff is comfortable. It's cozy, great quality. But I'm curious where they're going with it, and if it's more from a performance standpoint that they've won this award. Like, I would say, like, it's almost like on the come up. I give them a shout. Like, that's something that I would normally think of an Under Armour as maybe winning from a performance standpoint, or I wouldn't necessarily expect that award to go to Adidas or Nike, even though they do have such great performance products. They have such a vast range that I don't. They're almost like too big to get that kind of.
And it's also right, like a lot of it is like, we voted for you guys. Like you've won that award, like right. So it's like,
it's like how LeBron didn't get MVP because he's won it enough already.
See, how would I know you were gonna find a way to?
But it's true. It's true. I say that in the vein not to dog on LeBron. I say that in the vein where that's true with anything in life to prove that it's not just about LeBron. Tom Brady, same thing. It's like.
Except Tom Brady might win the MVP this year.
That'd be great, but he's like kind of on that new-ish, He's remixed down in Tampa Bay.
He's on that new-ish. No, yeah, and to your point, New Balance has done some interesting stuff. The collab they have with Levi's, right, with the jeans, the 327, and the reversible jacket, and that, look, I just think that they, not to be cynical, but they probably looked at the market and were like, we're missing out, right? Like, we're not in these categories like everybody else is, and maybe we should play here to, give ourselves quote unquote street cred, right? And like, be like, hey, and all the brands are doing it, right? Reebok's got stuff. I mean, everybody is into the collabs now. And as we know, the collabs are what's popular and gets everybody buzzing and talking, but they ain't the shoes that keep the lights on at these places, right? Like, those aren't the ones. It's the run-of-the-mill everyday shoe you find at your local Dick's Sporting Goods or whatever your local, store of choice is.
Yeah, and I think like the collabs, yes, and we talk about that a lot, but it's also the retros. And I don't know. I mean, New Balance has a nod to their more retro styles, but I don't think of a New Balance as like a shoe that I'm like, oh man, I wish they brought that back in the way that some of the other brands have, like Reeboks with the Allen Iversons, or the Shaqs that you're starting to see make their way around, because it, to me, and like I said, I'd love to talk to somebody, especially from the DMV area, if they have a different connection to New Balance than I do. But it doesn't tap into the same nostalgia in the same way as, something that's connected to an athlete. And like I said, I think it's really exciting in sneakers right now to see other brands outside of Nike and Adidas really make a play and do some cool things. Like we've talked about this before, Puma's doing some really dope stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I'd love to see them partner more with female spokespeople as well. But
Yep.
I mean, the Jordan Women's campaign, when they've launched their new apparel line,
Mm-hmm.
they're partnering with local influencers and tastemakers,
Mm-hmm.
photographers. Like they're looking at those people that are inspiring in their own way in their own community, that are real people, not just the athletes and the celebrities. So
Mm-hmm.
it's interesting for me seeing what the brands are doing, and I'm glad that someone like a New Balance recognizes the importance of that while also staying true to themselves, because they haven't shied away from their brand.
Right.
So that to me is something that is really great about New Balance, and they've always had a good performance shoe. Like I
Yeah.
said, I used to run in them. I have the a few of the other pairs now. We wore it for the Mets last year, and my gym shoes are New Balance, and they do some good products.
Listen. Sometimes, right? It's really about the function, right? You're like, look,
Absolutely.
this is a good running shoe. This is a good workout, cross training shoe, whatever. Let's rock with it. To your point about women, yeah, all of the brands, and they know this, right? Saying to do better, and not just, and it's fine. I'm not saying you can't do celeb collabs. Like, obviously, no doubt, like that makes sense. That's going to derive people. Shout out to Beyonce and Adidas and Ivy Park, which is like,
Absolutely.
But
Major.
to your point, like get some of these local unknown artists, right, and do some stuff with them and help promote women that way, right? I think when you do stuff like that, not only will you help launch a career, this will help, I think make you more attractive to the everyday person, right? So I think, brands, they got some work to do in that area.
But like I said before, any progress is better than no progress. So I will take that as a win. But I do want to talk to you about,
Mm.
as I mentioned earlier, my Halloween shirt. One thing that I love about sneakers, and I love that when brands have a lot of fun with sneakers, I have my one Halloween kicks,
Mm-hmm.
my foam posits that I wear every year.
Mm-hmm.
I probably should get a little bit more variety in my Halloween sneaker game. But
Nah.
what are your thoughts on holiday themed kicks? I find that in more recent years, there's been less and less of them.
Yeah.
But is the demand less, or are brands just like, nah, we did that?
I think, look, brands do things more often than not because they know it's going to sell and they're going to make money, right? Let's just be real about what it is, right? Okay, so that's one. Two, I do wonder, particularly, and you said it's been happening for a while, so not just this year specific, but I wonder this year specifically if we're going to see less, just because we're kind of in the middle of a pandemic still and people don't really have money like that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, are we going to see less of those holiday themed things? And then thirdly, and this is a personal thing, it's just me, not really in love with a lot of holiday design things. Now, Nike's done a couple Grinch things with some player exclusives and stuff like that. Okay, I can maybe see a little bit of that like on Christmas time. You want to do a cool jack-o'-lantern theme on your shoes. And part of it, again, as you know, for me, Gabby, when things get too funky with like a million colors, it's like my brain shuts down. It's like,
Yep.
like I can't, like, it's just too much. Like it just there's a switch that happens. So I think a market to tap into would be with younger kids, right? And like, because young kids wear all kinds of crazy things on their feet, right? Like, I mean, you look at some of the stuff you probably liked when you were like 10, 11, 12, you're like, oh my God, I'm not putting that thing on ever again. But like, shit was sparkly and lit up and what, I mean, I think that's the demo to target. Maybe you even do something where you bring back the ID labs and,
I love those.
and the kids are like designing, I mean, not you know what I mean? Not designing, but they're putting the colors in. Like it's already designed, but they're choosing their Christmas colors and all that stuff.
It's funny you say that though, because my foams are actually kid sneakers, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, and I thought the Air Force One, the lows and the orange with the cool skeleton effect, like Nike's done that before. They remixed it and did an orange this year, so I thought those were kind of cool. I almost wish that they brought back the white. I mean, I know we don't bring back a lot of styles, but like to me, that would be an interesting retro and something that I don't know. I think there's a little bit of a market out there. I mean, I don't fully agree with you that COVID times mean people are buying less. Like,
I mean, they're probably not buying less, but
that's
maybe
why we still can't win on Sneakers app. That's why the resale market is still insane. Like, according to the social media and the interwebs, like, and yes, I did just say the social media. It's been a long week, folks.
and the interwebs.
Yeah, people are still buying sneakers. I think they're just looking at different things too. And, we had TJ on from Talks with TJ, YouTuber. She's amazing. She was talking more about how it's about the fit, especially being home, that it's like, that she'd rather get a Fear of God hoodie or something like that instead of rushing to get the coolest sneakers. So I think that that's also part of it.
Yeah.
Because we're inside and, from the neck up right now is or the waist up, we have to look a certain way for those Zoom meetings and calls.
Right. Waist down, you probably in Cozy Fam.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know I am. I'll leave that at that, but yes, I am.
No, I think you're right. A lot of it too is just, and so I guess, to expand, that's kind of what I'm thinking about as it relates to the times that we're in, right? Like, are we not buying less, but buying differently, right? Are we shopping differently?
Right.
To your point.
I mean, absolutely. We're definitely shopping differently.
Like, it's like, I haven't bought, like, I mean, not that I do a lot of it, but like, I haven't bought any like formal clothes or like, because where am I going? There's no.
A photo shoot in Brooklyn Bridge Park. He's fun out there, Brad.
But you know what I'm saying, right? Like, there's no indoor things that I'm going to that require that, right?
Yeah,
like, so.
I think especially now that it's getting colder, I agree. I did buy a dress recently, a leopard print dress, and I wore it with heels. And I'm like, I don't even know who I am anymore. But it was for an outdoor dining experience for my friend's birthday. It was a little bit of a dressier occasion, and wanted to feel like I still got it. But otherwise, nah, Cozy Fam all day.
Cozy Fam. Shout out to all the Cozy Fam right now. Well, folks, we will be back with our special guest from the world of basketball. They're playing basketball.
I'm just going to let you ride that one out.
See, that's where I want it to be like, Hugh, please drop in the actual song right there because I don't want my voice actually.
You know what I'm about to do, though? You know what that means? It's about that time.
We'll see you guys in a few minutes. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Gerard and your girl Gabby. We are back. Gabby, we're not alone. We are joined by NBA skills development trainer, mentor, coach. He's one of the coaches down at the IMG Skills Academy in Florida, Sean Crawford. Sean, what's going on?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
We are glad to have you. So, Sean, you played basketball overseas as a professional, but that's we got to back it up. Like, how did you get there? Tell us your story.
For me, basketball started at a real young age. It's funny because I didn't start off playing basketball. I started out playing soccer, and when I was about, I want to say, 10, 11, I fell in love with the game. Not knowing my love for the game, my passion for it would take me well beyond my measures and dreams. But I started in schoolyard, playing in the schoolyard before school every morning. I always played with older guys, all of the older kids. So I was in like 4th grade playing with the 5th and 6th graders, and I held my own. And I didn't realize how about, I was in 5th and 6th grade that I was really good. So I just stopped playing soccer and all, and basketball was like my go-to sport from then on out. I ended up going to Benjamin Cardozo High School in Queens, New York.
Shout out to Queens.
And that kind of was the life-changing part of it. I got to see what basketball was able to do, the media behind it, the publicity behind it, being in newspapers. Prior to that, I never looked or viewed basketball in that manner. And it grew. So, the funny thing for me is I only played my senior year of high school basketball.
Wow.
Yeah, so I started off at Holy Cross High School. Going into my sophomore year, my stepfather at the time tried to kill my mom. So basketball, it was like the disconnect for me, where it's like, here I am now, 14, 15, a key witness in an attempted murder case. And for a while, like, basketball was my outlet. And I didn't necessarily go to school because, just emasculated, just the pressure of, where I come from and how I was kind of raised was men aren't supposed to cry, men aren't supposed to show weakness, be tough, man up. And I played one year of high school basketball as a senior. and I had a really breakout year, which led me to go to. I went to Notre Dame Prep, which I thought getting away, being at boarding school. I didn't know until I got there. It was the #1 prep school in the country. So they won the national championship the year before me, and my year there. Now, my eyes are even opener. It's even bigger because now I'm seeing the top colleges coming in to recruit. My team, 15 of us went Division I from that team. And at the time, I played alongside Michael Beasley, who was the #1 player in the country at the time.
Went to Kansas State. Shout out to Bees.
Yeah, K-State. So, from there, it just different levels upon my journey of, hardship. Then I received a scholarship to Fairfield University, where I played under Ed Cooley for 3 years, Division I school in Fairfield, Connecticut, in the MAC conference. And I think that's, for me, where I think my love for sneakers started to show. I started using sneakers. I used to get, then it transitioned later in life to tattoos. But sneakers was my way of standing out without having to talk. So despite what I was going through at home or what hardship, my sneakers always did the talking. Like, oh, he has on whatever pair they might have been, Jordans, 9.5s. It just, it speaks for you. So, throughout college, we were in Nike school. And I started, women call it retail therapy.
Yes, we do.
During my freshman year, my house burned down.
Wow.
So when I say everything I had was gone, house burned completely down, and having that pressure, I'm good because I have what I have at school, but the rest of my family and my possessions, everything's gone. It was kind of like a redo. Then I started buying everything in twos. So phone posits came back out. LeBron series were dropping. The Jordans were coming out. So because I was in Nike school, I only can play Nikes, and I love Jordans. So I gotta run downstairs. I played in the threes, the cement threes. I played in Aqua 8s. I played in thing you think of that were coming out, the 12s, 11s, low top, but I was buying everything in twos. One to play on the court, one I could wear off the court. But it was kind of like a passion for me, for my journey. For me there, I left after my freshman year. Then my sophomore year, one of my grandmothers passed away. So now for me turning, my emotional connection was sneakers. It was basketball and sneakers were things to keep my thought process off of whatever adversity I was going through at the time. And I used to have debates about sneakerheads. Back then it wasn't really a thing. And I'm like, no, people make, I used to have this argument on campus, people make livings off of something. It's impossible. And okay. But at the same time, I'm buying sets of twos. My junior year, I finally started playing, dealing with the injury on the court. And my junior year, we play UConn at UConn. No, I'm sorry. I'm skipping.
Okay.
I skipped the whole season. That because it was very short. So, no, my junior year, on first day of practice, I tear my ACL. So it's like, all right. And for me, it was sad because I bought all these sneakers all summer. I wear them. And, I just never played. But, I got to put them on ice and save them. But, I'm a big Kobe fan. Rest in peace, Kobe. But the 2 times I did tear my ACL, I had on Kobe's. So,
see?
No more Kobe.
See? Gotta watch them Kobe's, man. Them,
Juju.
Yep. So, then, going through rehab and that process and getting on the floor my senior year, I start playing, still dealing with coming back from the ACL surgery. We play UConn at UConn. That was kind of like my coming out party. At the time, UConn was number 8 in the country, 7 or 8, and we lose by, I think, 8 points. which is considered a really good loss. And off the bench, I think I might have had 15 points. So it was just really good and comforting, and knowing I'm here. I've arrived of, everything I've been through up until this point. I'm back and on the court. 2 weeks later, I get a phone call during spring break. My little brother was getting killed by a drunk driver. So it's just like, been finishing out the season, and for the path of like the uncertainty, we never know. And the biggest thing I like to advocate for now, especially with mental health, is anxiety and being able to be vulnerable and transparent. Where we're at an era now where everything is social media, so bullying or perception is so huge because everybody has something to say, everybody has an opinion. But it's like, embrace who you are, embrace your good and your flaws, and just keep trying to be a better person. So yeah, from there I got the chance to go overseas. I played overseas for about 2.5 years. The last game of the season 5 years ago, playing in Turkey, I tore my ACL again. And after that, I knew that Kobe's. It's the Kobe.
That's it. You're like, I'm not doing that.
But right then and there, I knew it was over. I didn't want to, put my body through that again. I didn't. Mentally, I wasn't there to redo rehab again and for it not to work. And then I kind of just got lucky. I got it. Mike called me randomly, and I ended up working for him for 2 years as his personal trainer and assistant. And from there, the doors open. They say hard work doesn't go unnoticed.
Yep.
And, he said a couple of interviews. He was traded, signed with the Knicks. I got a chance to come back home. And everything just started opening up there, opportunity, and, forever blessed and thankful for that man, for putting me in the driver's seat. And, from there, I didn't let up.
Yeah.
And from there, it led me to, I got a chance to coach professionally overseas last year. And when I came back from there, I was able to work for the Clippers for the past 7 months, and came back home to the Knicks. Honored and still thankful to be part of the Jumpman family. And, for me, that was like one of the biggest things in the world to me, that, everything I've been through, the one thing I always embraced were like Jordans. Even when I was a kid, I remember getting up with my mom early Saturday mornings, going to Green Acres Mall at 5:30, 5:45, and them opening the doors at 6. And us sprinting, running to the Foot Locker or Kids Foot Locker, Foot Action, to try to get a ticket. And, on the phone, did you get a ticket? Get a size 11. They don't got 10. So I think that's kind of where my passion for Jordans especially started. And Air Max is my mom, my brothers, like my family. It was just like a tradition for us, waking up early Saturday morning, getting to the mall. And when they say go, everybody running around like it's Christmas, trying to get the hottest pair of new Jordans. To this day, I haven't found a pair, but I'm going to get my hands on them, or the Carolina Blue 11s.
Oh, yeah.
I remember I had those. I was in 8th grade, and to cheer me up, they came back with the all patent leather light blue sweatsuit, and it was just like, that was like my cheer up. So for me, like, that sneakers has always been my way of, like, no matter, hey, I got them new pair of sneakers, I got something to look forward to. So that's kind of where I fell in love with sneakers, and just everything I've been through, everything, stories, and I think that's the beauty and the art of sneakers.
Yeah.
You can still relate to a point or time in your life of where you fell in love with the sneaker, and no matter where you are in life, if you see that, you always get that flashback. I remember when I had that. I remember a song. I remember my mood, or so. That's kind of my love, where it fell in love with sneakers for me. But that passion, and it kind of led me here. I just got here. I've been a part of IMG for the past month. I've been here for 1 month. Today makes 1 month, so I'm just thankful.
Yeah.
And, as happy and as positive as they get. So.
Yeah.
Sean,
Happy month anniversary.
Yeah. That was a lot. And I'm sure, that was the condensed version. But, you at a very young age dealt with really significant trauma, right?
Yeah.
Being a witness in a murder case, right? And the murder case is, unless your mother, right? Like that is a lot. How? But obviously, basketball and your love for sneakers is one of the ways that you were able to overcome. But what, looking back now as you've gotten older, were some things that you think helped you along the way as well? Because now that you train and you work with athletes who aspire to be pros, you have to be able to give them, some reality, right? Of like, this is how this works. So what are some things you were able to look back on and see, oh man, here's how I handled this, and this is how I think it could help you, or how it helped me, move this part forward in my life or in someone else's life that you're working with?
Honestly, I would think I catered all up to basketball. That was my escape. But the one thing, if I had to give advice to anybody, to say, is I wish I was more transparent. Young back then, we didn't really know. We didn't talk about mental health. Mm-hmm. We didn't really speak about problems, or it was just like kind of deal with it. But that got me through, because all I knew was basketball. I didn't think about life outside of basketball, which is the gift and the curse. So I hindered a lot of relationships that I had with people, because I missed so many holidays, birthdays, and, sometimes putting myself in their shoes, or what they expected from me, or how they accepted love. And I just never knew how to give it, because it was basketball. So sometimes, a meaningless card might have meant so much to somebody. But for me, it was just like, oh, I forgot the date because I'm training or I'm working. So it just like kind of opening up a little bit, enjoying life, understanding things around you. But just stay positive and keep a good circle around you. I feel like, good or bad, the more transparent you are, it'll help you get further along. Like, I think if I was more transparent and more open, I would have got to certain places a lot faster.
Yeah, and you touched on that, right? There wasn't the language that we have now, right? And you mentioned the gender norms in society, right? Not only are you a man, you're an athlete. Athletes definitely don't talk about feelings or being hurt or whatever. There's this tough guy macho culture that really, when you think about it, right, actually inhibits your development as a human being, right? And what I find so interesting is basketball for you. So you had all the trauma going on in your life at home, not just with your mom, the house burning down, your brother, all those things. But then you had setbacks and failures on the basketball court as well. Mm-hmm. And, when you talk to any mental health professional, they talk about how, like, sadness and joy are two sides of the same coin, right? Like, you see the clown that has the smile, but the tears are in makeup, right? Because it's the same emotion, just flipped. Right?
Yep.
So, basketball for you is so interesting because it's given you so much of what you have, but it is the source also of so much pain, too. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, and it's funny you say that. So this is the first time I ever, like, publicly said this. You just talking about, that double coin. When I got to New York, we got here with the Knicks. The Knicks was on the road. I spoke Mike in the morning, NBA first game of the season. I went to a bar, a couple of my boys going to watch the game. And as I'm leaving that restaurant that night, the drunk driver of the other car, so ideally my brother's killer, was sitting at the bar.
Wow.
So, I think that might have been the hardest for me, just speaking trauma of having to call my mom and telling her the news, and then having to go identify the body. Prior to years later, I'm sitting face to face. Like, we sat down in a restaurant for 2 hours and just talked.
Wow.
Just about life. And, after I went home, I cried. Because we talk about, we think things through, but until you're face to face with some of our realities, we never understand it. We can't phantom it. So, but, that led me to be more transparent. It led me to be more open, speaking out more on mental health. And, like, I wish I got help back. Like, now I speak to a therapist, where I think everybody should, for good or for worse. Mm-hmm. But back then it wasn't acceptable. Mm-hmm. Or it was looked down upon. Like, no, it's not. That's a part of growth. It's a part of healing. Admitting and noticing that there is a problem. What's the solution to make it better? So, but once you have something that you're passionate about and you love, and you're just genuine, it'll carry you in the right direction. So I'm so thankful that I've had basketball in my life, because despite the hardships, and I hear a lot of stories, it could have went far left for me.
Mm-hmm.
But God willing, I found my purpose, and it's carried me through life. I'm big on the quote, "Tough times don't last, tough people do." So it's just staying the course, having faith, and just attacking everything head on.
So I know you, Sean, you're just such a positive light. I mean, you work with tons of kids and your story is so unique and interesting. Do you think the forgiveness that you had to give to some of those moments in your life trickled into basketball as well? I mean, you've been through with basketball too. And is that kind of what fuels you to motivate the kids that you coach and mentor and teach?
Yeah, definitely. I'm a firm believer. Like, really, this is my motto, what I live with. You got to live with a clean heart and a clear head, because the moment you start thinking negative, and you're gonna block your blessings. You never know when they're gonna come. So you can pray for it every day, but as we all know, God doesn't talk; He shows. So, just being pure, being yourself in the most genuine. It's not always gonna be perfect, but for me, through everything I've been through, it's just like that positivity. It blocks out a lot. For me, I didn't understand what pain was, because I didn't know anything else. So everything I've been through was just like, all right, I'll get through this. It's pain, but I wasn't, because of my blinds, I wasn't open to other people's stories. I wasn't going around asking about, court cases. Oh, you too? It was just like, this is my secret. Keep going. And then as I got older, you start being more informed, introduced to different things. And it was like, wait a second, not only if I opened up about it, I might have healed a little bit better earlier. But, I'm at a place now where I have to give, basketball is not just a sport. I don't know what, everybody goes through, especially now in the middle of a pandemic. Everybody's affected differently. So when I do get some of these athletes on the court, if it's Skype, is it, FaceTime, Zoom, it's like for that hour and a half, that 2 hours we're in the gym, I help them escape the world. And I know what basketball did for me, so it's more personable and personal to me that, it's not just about basketball. I care more for you. For that block, it's just me and you. So I don't know what it is you might be going through, but this is your piece. And I advocate for that. I want to be that voice of reason. Like I said, everybody needs to feel loved. Everybody should feel loved in any form. And when you're, do a workout, it's just like going to yoga, going to lift. Sometimes these kids need it more than anything right now. Maybe the parents might need that hour 40 block just away from the kids. Like, we don't know. So I just make it, that more enjoyable of a moment, because I know the times are different.
Absolutely. And talk about how that's changed for you, because I know you've done a ton with virtual training on COVID. How has that changed? And have you noticed still the same kind of results in being able to train at home? And I mean, I think mental health right now, especially with the pandemic, is such a huge topic. I mean, so I think what you're doing now is even more important than ever. But how has that changed with everything going virtual and digital?
It was really a really big adjustment for me. I've never done basketball training prior to now. It started with one client. This kid, I work out, he's a freshman, Riley from New Jersey. He actually, thanks to him and his family. So Jeff and Riley, if you guys tune in, thank you. They just wanted to get training. They were in a house, and I never done it before. They were like, do you mind if you can put us through some ball handling drills? Sure. And it started with Riley, and it went 1 hour, once a day. Can we do Wednesday? Can we do Friday? Now we're going 3 times a week. I started posting a little bit on social media, and he got better within a month and a half. And it was noticeable.
It's amazing.
And then I started doing Zoom. Then, I started getting 100 kids per Zoom session.
Wow. And
then the Knicks, I worked for the Knicks, and they were like, Sean, we want you to run our virtual basketball camp. All right. And, from there, we had about 1,500 kids per session tuned in 3 times a week. And it was just like, you still do get that same feel, At first it's kind of weird because like you're looking at the screen and you're waiting for reactions.
Mm-hmm.
After more and more you do it, it's the little things that start to count. Like I ran the MBPAs. We did a virtual basketball camp, and the one thing I'm big on now is eye contact. Like I really can't be, but if I'm looking in your eye and you're look like, even though it's just a screen, but if I see you locked in, I understand like you're here.
Mm-hmm.
So then I start calling out names, and it's just a different way of training. And once you train your brain to it and your thought process of this is how I can get better, I look at YouTube for everything. So why can't a kid look at me?
Mm-hmm.
So my perspective on it changed, but now I do Zoom sessions for people all over the world. Turkey, I've had Germany, Austria, like it's no limits. So what it was for me throughout the pandemic, it showed that there's no excuses. If there's a will, there's a way. You just got to be creative and be dedicated to whatever it is you do and learn how to adapt and adjust quickly.
You mentioned the different work that you do, and Michael Beasley obviously was your first client that sort of, in many ways, put you on. Who were some other NBA and WNBA players that you've worked with, and what is besides skill level, obviously, what is the difference between when you're training, prep school players and high school kids versus training professionals?
So Mike, he opened the door for me, but I was able to, while we were in Milwaukee with Jabari Parker. Mm-hmm. I've worked with Epiphany Prince, Brianna Stewart.
Mm-hmm. Stewie.
Yeah, I love Stewie. Congrats to Stewie.
Yeah. Another chip, another finals MVP. Mm-hmm. She's legit, man.
Mo Harkless, Hamidou Diallo, Justin Wright Foreman, Danny Green. So, it spreads, but honestly, the perception of NBA players in high school, they're all the same. They're all the same. The only thing might be is the skill level or the athleticism. But at the end of the day, they're humans. So it's, honestly just having that connection, having that locked in. When you step in the floor, it's all business. Because the same, drills that I go through with my NBA and WNBA players, I do with my overseas players, my high school kids, my elite preps. Like, it doesn't matter. Workout to workout. It's how you attack it. And, what can you get from it? So, pros, I usually go around 45 minutes. But they are game speed.
Yeah.
Everything is game speed, and everything is mental. So the same way I talk, like who's the best player in the gym, who works harder than us, that goes across the board. Once you're locked in and you understand that, like, listen, Stewie, you're the number one player in the world, but somebody wants your spot. Let alone to the seventh grader that, hey, I'm not there yet, but I want to take somebody's spot. So it's the same mindset, just, tapping into different mentals and playing the game differently for different people.
So there's hope for me still, is what you're saying. Okay, good.
You got to dribble between the legs, jump shot, a little something.
Okay, Gerard and I had a little time on the court last week, so I got to be training for our next time.
We did. What I find so interesting about pros, Shaw, and Stan Van Gundy, who is now the head coach of the Pelicans, told me this, and he said, oftentimes what people see when they see professionals, NBA players, they marvel at the spectacular. And of course, that's the easy thing to sort of get wowing, because it's things that regular people cannot do. But for Stan, that's not what makes them exceptional. What makes them exceptional is how often they do the basic thing correct, right? Like that's why they're what they are, because they do the post entry pass or what perfect every single time, right? Like that, and it's the mastery of the skill, right? And I'm sure with your young kids, that's what you're teaching them. It's like, bro, I know you want to think you Trae Young or step. No. You got to master the basic skill first.
Yeah. And, even at that level, people forget that there's only about 300 NBA players in the world.
Right.
And they're like the most gifted of the gifted. And at the same token, if you go down any bench, usually only 7-8 players play. So, kids, they don't understand younger levels and paying attention to detail. Like on a pro level, and I was fortunate with Mike growing at a rapid pace of wanting knowledge, and at the time with the Bucks, they were in the playoffs. So I would go over game film with Mike, what they would, okay. Then reading his scouting reports. For me, scouting report is, I played in college, 5 pages. Then I see a 30-page scouting report. I'm like, what is this? Every tendency, everywhere they shoot on the court, the time and scores. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, this is real basketball. And that was just for game 1. So after game 2, when things changes, we add. I'm like, so it's just really paying attention to detail and locking in. So I think that's the differences between the pros and high school and top elite. Everybody had the athleticism, but can you pay attention to detail and do things over and over and over the right way?
Yeah, this is, we love basketball here, and I could talk to you about this for hours. We may have to do that on another podcast, but folks, stay tuned because it is time for America's favorite segment, Shoe and Tell. And you already heard Sean said he's a Jordan guy, so I have a feeling where we're going with our Shoe and Tell, but you guys stay tuned. We will be back with Shoe and Tell. What's up, guys? We are back with Sean Crawford, NBA player development coach, skills trainer. It is time for Shoe and Tell. Now, you guys know how this works. The guests, they just do their thing. So, Sean, show us some shoes. Tell us why you love them.
All right, I'm going to start with, since this is a basketball segment, one of my favorite pair of basketball kicks.
Ooh.
The eggplant foam posits.
Yep.
No, flight posits. I apologize. And I kind of have a story for all of them. These, my favorite player growing up, and one of the reasons why we're the number 12, Talik Brown, from University of UConn. I watched him play a game at IS-8, and he had these on. They were the gold ones, and I could never find the gold ones. And I got a little older, and I finally got my hands on these bad boys, and I'm like, because of him, I wanted them so bad. He had them. I think I got these when I was a sophomore in high school. So thanks, Talik. Let's see. So these are the only ones I have. I just moved to Florida, so everything's in boxes, and these were just some of my favorites I had. But I'm a big Air Max 95.
Oh yeah.
I thought these were one of the dopest 95s. With the orange bubble, we're still orange.
Yep.
With the plaids, I love the plaids.
It is a love affair with sneakers.
Yes, I love my sneakers. So, in the interview, it was a pair of sneakers. I got hurt, and the 11s, right? I wanted them so bad I could never find the Carolina Blue 11s again. A couple years ago, I got hurt again. But this time, I went and bought myself the Carolina Blue 9s.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I guess these are my injury color shoe. I go find these, but these were, and then hold Carolina Blue kicks.
Yeah, of course.
And that was the reason for the Carolina Blue 9s. Love these bad boys. Gonna go here. These are special. I got three more.
It's all good.
I
So,
wish I could see what you're seeing right now. It's like a
Woo!
journey.
Look at those.
Okay.
Kith LeBrons. When I was at Cardozo High School, Kith also is from Cardozo High School. So when these were released, these were special edition. These were the first samples made, and he only made 55 pair of these. So the whole team got them.
Wow.
LeBron got them, and I guess just his Kith staff got these. So the Cardozo Kith.
Look at that, man.
Those are nice with the detailing and the
Yeah.
zipper. They're fire.
Now, the last two, these are my babies. These are sentimental to me because I've had these for the longest, and through all of the moving, the house burning down, these are my favorite 2 pair of sneakers. So,
Look at those.
go with the Op 8s.
Classic.
I remember I got these my sophomore year.
I remember when those came out. I remember I'd be like, yo, that tongue is crazy.
Yeah. It's still crazy. Ooh.
That detail.
Yeah, these are my babies. These are one of my all-time favorite Aqua 8s. I kind of wanted to remake, but I didn't like the material on them, so I just never got them. And I think these got to be top 2 in everybody's. They just got to be. It just got to be.
Oh, well,
Yep.
of course. I mean,
These are my favorites. So This I played almost my whole senior year in these. I, for the record, when they came out, I was in college again. I had 4 pair of these. But these are my all-time favorite Jordans. The threes, I have them in so many different colorways, but cement threes.
Classic.
I just love the threes. So
yes, sir. That is the threes are my favorite silhouette for sure, and they are a favorite silhouette of this show. So
Absolutely.
You can hoop in these. You can walk off. You can wear it in a suit.
Yep.
You can wear them anywhere.
I don't know if Gerard remembers but those are actually the shoes that I was wearing when I first met Gerard.
That is true. In an airport.
Cement threes, yep. All-Star weekend.
You can't go wrong. And then, see, now that's just the one thing. Being that now I am part of the Jumpman team, I get all of the free Jumpman stuff. So I'm like the biggest kid in the world when boxes do come in. But, for me, like I said, Jordan has played a, pivotal role in my life, everything I've been through. I used to always go to the mall. So for it to come full circle and for me to be, as a trainer, as a mentor, to be part of the Jordan brand, it was special to me because it meant more. I remember getting up early, running out to get these shoes. The Aquas, I remember those. I remember standing online in Green Acres Mall for those too. But yeah, your sneaker tells your story and where you were at a certain point of your life. So, I love them.
And
How many pairs of those do you have now?
So, man, I have 2.
Okay.
I have one still sitting on ice, and these I put on every now and then to walk around in my sweatsuit or sometimes workouts. But the other ones aren't being touched for a while.
well, dead stock.
Yeah.
What's so interesting, and that's the connection, right? We always talk about Jordans, and I think, look, because people always, man, it's always Jordans, and I'm like, it's because they were the first, right? Like, and everybody who was involved in sneakers, whether you played ball or you just like fresh kicks or whatever, Jordans were that shoe. Like, yeah, Adidas has got dope stuff, Puma, Reebok, all got dope things, but there was never the frenzy around those that there was around a Jordan release. And of course, tied to the most iconic athlete probably in the history of the world, right? That kind of helps too, right?
But my first love wasn't Jordans.
Okay.
It wasn't Jordans. I was in 6th grade. I got beat for this. Sis, when you see this, I love you.
Oh boy.
I was in 6th grade, and my sister had the Carolina blue. Me and Carolina, I don't know what it is.
I was gonna say, I'm noticing a trend here.
I mean, you probably should have went to Carolina. I mean,
it was the Carolina blue Uptowns.
Mm-hmm.
All white, the blue with the blue gum bottom, and the blue right on the strap. And she had them, and it was the first time I was playing elementary school game, and I'm like, man, I want to whip. And I snuck in her room. I wore them. I messed them up, and I put them back. And I took it to the grave. My mom knew it was me. She beat me for them, but she didn't tell my secret. She acted mad at the rest of the house, like, don't go in her room. It got her a lock on the door. But yes, sis, it was the Carolina blue Uptowns. That's when Puff Daddy, because he had them on in the video. Then he, I can't remember what video it was. He had like the all yellow one with the yellow Uptown.
Well, but see, all right. So Jordans weren't your first love, but you're still in the family, though.
Nike
It's still the Nike. It's still the Nike family.
I like that though, and I think that to Gerard's point, like not only does it tap into the nostalgia, and it was the first, but I think Jordan Brand over the years has done a really great job of preserving that legacy and that specialness. I mean, I look back, I used to rock Superstars all the time when I was a kid. Like, loved me some Run DMC, you know what I mean? But I could go to the store and get them whenever I want. You can't do that with Jordans, and I think that's what adds to the level of specialness. And, there's a lot of people in the culture now that might not have connected with that when they were younger because of just their age demographic, but you can still feel that history and that storytelling even when you put on a pair of retros today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Put them on and jump right back into that moment you first had them. So
no doubt. And I mean, if you're a hooper, I mean, all the NBA dudes, like when they show you their shoe stuff, it's like, oh man, these J's, that's just that's always the right, because they always have a story around Jordans or something like that. So it's a beautiful thing, man. This is Sean. What an episode. A lot
Right.
going on here, my guy. We appreciate having you on. You're on social media, so tell the people where they can find you.
You can find me on Instagram at justcraw121, and I'm also on Twitter at kingcraw12.
You love it, folks. You know where to find the Kicks and Shit Show, as always. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud. We are everywhere. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We out here in these streets, for real.
We are out here.
We'll see you guys next time. Take care.
Thank you.